We live in an era where a smartphone in our pocket can become a personal trainer for our brain. Digital cognitive ability trainers are a prominent phenomenon of the 21st century, changing our understanding of intellectual development. Just 10 years ago, the idea of training the brain daily with an app seemed like science fiction. Today, it is the everyday reality for millions of people worldwide. Every morning, they open colorful programs to solve puzzles, navigate memory mazes, or master speed reading. Modern neurotrainers use gamification principles, transforming complex cognitive tasks into an engaging journey. Technologies allow us to train not only memory or attention, but also reaction speed, spatial thinking, logic, and even emotional intelligence. Just as fitness trackers have changed our attitude towards physical training, digital platforms for brain development are forming a new culture of mental health. They make visible what previously went unnoticed: the gradual improvement of our cognitive functions. For a long time, scientists believed that the adult human brain remained unchanged. Neurons do not regenerate. Connections between them are established in childhood and youth, and after 25 years, an inevitable decline in cognitive functions begins. This dogma collapsed at the end of the 20th century when researchers discovered an amazing property of the brain: neuroplasticity. Like plasticine, our brain is capable of changing its structure at any age. Every new skill, every solved problem creates and strengthens neural connections. A 90-year-old person's brain can form new synapses just like a teenager's brain, slower, but according to the same principles. Revolutionary studies by Professor Michael Merzenich showed that targeted training of certain cognitive functions leads to measurable changes in the corresponding areas of the brain. Experiments using functional magnetic resonance imaging demonstrate how, in just a few weeks of regular exercises, the density of gray matter increases in the trained areas. Digital trainers rely precisely on this principle, creating optimal conditions for neuroplasticity: gradual increase in difficulty, regularity of training, and immediate feedback. They work as peculiar neural architects, designing more effective cognitive networks in our brain. Behind the scenes of digital cognitive trainers lies an astonishingly complex architecture, combining the latest advancements in neuroscience and programming. Modern brain training platforms are not just a collection of random games, but meticulously constructed systems with a multi-layered structure. At their core are adaptive learning algorithms that analyze every user action and form an individual development trajectory. Imagine an invisible mentor who notices the slightest fluctuations in your concentration and instantly adjusts the task's difficulty. The nucleus of such systems consists of neural networks, trained on millions of training sessions. They determine the optimal level of cognitive load, challenging enough to stimulate growth, but not so difficult as to cause frustration. The technical term for this balance is the quote, a concept proposed last century by psychologist Lev Vygotsky, now embodied in code. Each trainer specializes in a specific cognitive function. Programs for developing working memory use sequences of stimuli with gradually increasing information volume. Attention trainers track microsecond fluctuations in reaction speed, while systems for developing executive functions model complex decision-making situations. Particularly impressive are algorithms working with spatial reasoning. They create three-dimensional puzzles that adapt to the user's individual cognitive profile. Memory is an amazing tool of our consciousness, and today we can train it with digital technologies like never before. Modern cognitive trainers offer specialized programs for each type of memory. To develop working memory, the very memory that allows us to hold information in mind while solving problems, sequences of symbols, numbers, or images with gradually increasing complexity are used. The application shows you a series of objects and then asks you to reproduce them in the correct order, a simple mechanic with a powerful effect. Long-term memory is trained through spaced repetition systems. Algorithms precisely calculate the optimal moment to repeat material, just before you are about to forget it. Episodic memory, responsible for personal memories, is strengthened through virtual spaces and scenarios. By exploring digital rooms and remembering the location of objects, you activate the same neural networks that are used in forming real memories. Games that simulate the method of loci, an ancient memorization technique used even by Roman orators, are particularly effective. You place information in imaginary places and then mentally walk along this route, collecting data. Digital trainers visualize this process, making it accessible even to beginners. The key advantage of such systems is immediate feedback. You instantly see your mistakes and can correct them, reinforcing correct neural connections. Regular memory training not only improves the ability to remember new things, but also protects the brain from age-related changes, creating a kind of cognitive reserve for the future. In a world where informational noise has become the new normal, our attention has transformed into the most valuable and, simultaneously, the most fragile resource. Endless notifications, pop-up windows, streams of news and messages. All of this creates an ideal environment for the development of distraction. Our brain, evolutionarily wired to react to every new stimulus, turned out to be unprepared for such an informational onslaught. Digital attention trainers are created precisely to solve this paradoxical problem, to use technology to combat the negative consequences of technology. Modern concentration programs operate by contrasting two modes of attention: focused and diffused. They offer exercises where one needs to sustain attention on a single object, ignoring intentionally created distractions. Algorithms track the slightest fluctuations in concentration, recording microsecond delays in reaction, a sign that your attention has begun to wander. Trainers working with visual attention are particularly effective. They teach the brain to filter visual noise and extract meaningful signals, a skill critically important in today's world of information-saturated interfaces. A separate direction is training resilience to multitasking. Contrary to popular myth, the human brain is incapable of effectively performing several cognitively complex tasks simultaneously. We merely switch rapidly between them, losing up to 40% of productivity with each switch. Digital trainers teach us to recognize this state and return to a mode of deep work, the very kind that leads to real breakthroughs and discoveries. Creativity is perhaps the most enigmatic of all human cognitive abilities. Unlike memory or attention, creativity is difficult to measure and even harder to train. However, digital trainers are opening up new horizons in this area as well. Modern platforms utilize the principle of divergent thinking, the ability to find multiple solutions to a single problem instead of searching for one correct answer. Interactive, open-ended puzzles, where there is no predetermined solution, stimulate the brain to seek unconventional approaches. Tasks designed to overcome functional fixedness, a cognitive barrier that prevents seeing new ways to use familiar objects, are particularly effective. Digital trainers offer virtual objects and ask users to come up with dozens of unusual uses for them, developing flexibility of thought. Another approach is training associative thinking through unexpected combinations of concepts and images. Users are prompted to create meaningful connections between random words or visual elements, activating the brain regions responsible for creative insights. Algorithms assess the originality of solutions by comparing them with thousands of answers from other users. Exercises aimed at overcoming mental blocks, those internal censors that dismiss ideas as too strange or unrealistic, play a special role. Digital trainers create a safe space for experimentation where any idea is accepted and analyzed rather than rejected outright. Imagine a personal trainer who knows all your cognitive weaknesses and strengths, adapts the program to your needs, and never loses patience. This is what modern adaptive brain training systems have become. At their heart are complex machine learning algorithms that transform each session into a unique experience. These digital mentors constantly analyze dozens of parameters: reaction speed, answer accuracy, error patterns, concentration time, and even signs of cognitive fatigue. Based on this data, the system instantly adjusts the difficulty and type of tasks, keeping the user in the ideal learning zone. Challenging enough for development, but not so difficult as to cause frustration. When you cope too easily, the program raises the bar. If you start making more mistakes, it reduces the load or changes the exercise format. The evolution of these systems is impressive. The first adaptive trainers used simple adjustment rules, while modern ones employ multi-layered neural networks capable of recognizing subtle nuances of a person's cognitive state. They create a detailed user profile, including strengths and weaknesses in different cognitive domains, optimal time of day for training, preferred task types, and even emotional reactions to successes and failures. Such personalization makes training not only more effective, but also significantly more engaging. The user is always at the edge of their capabilities, where real growth of neural connections occurs. There is no universal solution for training cognitive abilities. This truth forms the foundation of modern digital trainers. Each person's brain is as unique as a fingerprint, with its own inimitable combination of strengths and weaknesses. An 80-year-old pensioner striving to maintain mental clarity needs completely different exercises than a student preparing for exams or a manager developing strategic thinking skills. Advanced platforms begin by detailed cognitive profiling, identifying individual user characteristics through a series of diagnostic tests. They determine not only the level of development of various functions, but also the preferred learning style: visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. For older people, programs focus on information processing speed and working memory, functions most susceptible to age-related changes. Children are offered trainers that develop attention and executive functions, which are critically important for successful learning. Systems that take into account neurocognitive features are of particular value. They create special modes for people with dyslexia, ADHD, or high-functioning autism. Such fine-tuning transforms digital trainers from universal toys into powerful tools for personal development, adapted to specific life tasks and goals. How do you know that your cognitive training is truly working? This question becomes key for millions of users of digital trainers. Modern platforms use a multi-level system for evaluating progress, combining objective and subjective metrics. At its core are standardized neuropsychological tests adapted for the digital environment. They measure basic parameters: reaction time in milliseconds, working memory capacity, attention stability, and information processing speed. These micro-measurements allow for the detection of even minor improvements, imperceptible in everyday life. Leading platforms use a double testing technology, separate assessment tasks that differ from the training exercises. This helps determine whether real cognitive function development is occurring or simply an improvement in a specific gaming skill. Longitudinal data, changes in indicators over weeks and months of training, are of particular value. They form a user's cognitive profile, with detailed breakdowns by various functions, from visuospatial perception to verbal fluency. The most advanced systems go further, tracking the transfer of skills to real life through special questionnaires and practical tasks. They assess how much improvements in the digital environment translate into increased effectiveness in daily activities, from remembering names to making complex decisions. Such a comprehensive approach to measuring cognitive progress transforms the abstract concept of brain development into a concrete, measurable process with clear markers of success. Behind the gleaming facade of digital cognitive trainers lies their dark side, rarely spoken of by developers and enthusiasts. Excessive indulgence in electronic brain stimulation carries a number of potential dangers. The first and most obvious is the formation of psychological dependence. Many applications intentionally use the same reward mechanisms as social networks or gambling: instant feedback, achievement systems, comparison with other users. The brain receives regular doses of dopamine, and gradually, a need for a daily dose of training forms. Users report anxiety and guilt if they miss a day of sessions, which clearly goes beyond a healthy habit. Another problem is the illusion of development. Many trainers excel at teaching how to pass specific tests and games, but these skills are practically not transferred to real life. A person can achieve impressive results in the application, memorizing sequences of symbols, but still forget the names of new acquaintances or a shopping list. This phenomenon, known as the near transfer effect, creates a dangerous illusion of cognitive progress. Of particular concern is the impact of digital trainers on natural learning processes. The brain, accustomed to bright stimuli and instant feedback, begins to experience difficulties concentrating on slower and less structured, real-world tasks. Reading books, prolonged contemplation, creative pursuits, all these crucial cognitive practices may seem boring and ineffective after the vibrant world of digital training. Behind every cognitive trainer lies a huge array of data about our thinking. Every click, every pause, every error is recorded and analyzed. This creates an unprecedented situation. Companies gain access to our thought processes, the most intimate part of human experience. What will happen if data about your attention span, reaction speed, or memory falls into the hands of employers, or insurance companies, or government agencies? We are on the threshold of an era where our cognitive abilities can become subject to evaluation and control. Systems integrated with neurointerfaces and reading biometric indicators are particularly alarming. They collect not only the results of task execution, but also physiological reactions, from eye movements to electrical brain activity. This information can tell more about us than we know ourselves. No less important is the ethical issue of cognitive inequality. Paid applications and programs with better algorithms are available to wealthy users, deepening the gap between social strata. If cognitive trainers are truly effective, we are creating a world where the rich become not only richer, but also smarter. A separate problem is child development. Parents, striving to give their children an advantage, immerse them in the world of digital training from an early age. But what is the price of such accelerated development? Are we losing something important by replacing free play and live communication with structured digital exercises? We stand at the threshold of a new era of cognitive development. The integration of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and neurotechnologies opens up unprecedented opportunities for training the human brain. Systems are already emerging that can create fully immersive environments for cognitive training. In these virtual worlds, users don't just solve abstract problems. They immerse themselves in complex scenarios that require the simultaneous application of multiple cognitive skills. Neurointerfaces add a new dimension, allowing direct reading and stimulation of brain activity. This creates a closed loop of interaction between the brain and the computer, where the system instantly adapts to the subtlest nuances of the user's neural activity. However, the future of cognitive development should not be reduced to a technological race. A wise approach lies in balancing digital training and natural experience. Deep reading, live communication, physical activity, creativity, and contact with nature remain indispensable stimuli for our brain. Technologies should complement these practices, not replace them. The ideal model for the future is a hybrid approach, where digital tools enhance natural learning processes rather than competing with them. Such a balanced path will allow us to harness the potential of technology while preserving the profound humanity of our thinking.